trouble is that we all think we have time. We think that there are enough moments in our life to be able to do something tomorrow, to enjoy ourselves tomorrow, to make the most, to spend time with our friends and family. And the truth of the matter is, with every passing day, we're always running out. As most of you know, I have polio. I've been talking about it for the longest time. When I was like 15 years old, I had an appointment, and my mother, being the very African mother that she is, she wanted to find out that regarding my disability, would it affect my chances to be able to have children myself, especially because that my disability is set up, would I be able to take the extra weight of being pregnant? And the doctor didn't see any particular issue with it, as long as obviously I didn't overwork myself. Then it might need to be that the bigger I got, I might need to be in a wheelchair for a bit, but it shouldn't necessarily be an issue. Now, what he said was that there was such a thing as post-polio syndrome, an attack after the attack. So it just makes you a lot weaker, a lot more fatigued, and you aren't necessarily able to do the things that you were able to do before. So it could end up that I would be in a wheelchair. Now, I've come to terms with it now, having being able to, enjoy my life, travel, and do the things that I've wanted to do. But at the time that I first heard it, it knocked me for six, because I wasn't ready to hear that. I'd just gotten to a stage where I was getting used to having my caliper, having my crutches, and being able to enjoy life, go to school, and do whatever. And then to hear that what happened to you when you were back home in Nigeria, it could come back worse. Now, what he did mention is that it affects between 25% to up to 80% of people that have suffered from polio. So the issue with this is that I got polio before my first birthday, and usually post-polio syndrome, it affects the person usually 30 or 40 years after the initial attack. I'm 28, so I might have just 2 years before all these things that I'm able to do, or the skydiving, the bungee jumping, the scuba diving that I recently did. Those might become things of the past. Being in a wheelchair, it would obviously limit me more. Now, hearing that at the tender-old age of 15 wasn't the best thing, because I was so sure that I was like, okay, I'm handling this. This is as bad as it'll get, and I can just move on from this. The initial shock, and I'm not usually one for public displays of emotion, especially like crying. I hate crying in front of people. I just broke down in tears, and it was really hard to hear, because I thought, okay, I'm over the worst of it, but then hearing the news is that actually it could get worse. You don't necessarily think about it all the time, but you don't actually have that much time. We're all living on borrowed time. So you might as well do the things that make you happy. So when I was 15, me and my family, we hadn't had our British passport yet. So I was still not stuck in London. Like, I love living in London, but I couldn't go anywhere else. So I was like, okay, the minute I get my passport, I'm going to see as much as I can, do all the things that I want to do, travel as much as possible, just in case if the worst does happen and I do end up getting post-polio syndrome and I do become weaker and the distances that I'm able to cover, I'm no longer able to do that I will have memories of being in Panama, of going to South Africa, of being in China, and seeing my friends all around the world and doing these amazing things. I've been having a good run of it. Like, I'm loving life, but it always is in the back of my mind. Like, potentially in less than 2 years' time, these things that I'm able to do, being able to keep up with my friends, it's like, okay, let's go and do this thing. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm up for it, but now I'll have to think about it more. Actually, will I be able to do it? If I'm in a wheelchair, if there's even a single step, like, I'm going to have to figure out how to be able to do that. And one of my good friends is in a wheelchair, and she makes it look so effortless, which is why I always say to people, like, you never know how strong you are until that's the only option you have, really. So I do what I can, but if it does happen, then it happens. But I'll have the good memories to go along with it. And, God forbid, like tomorrow you could get hit by a bus. And, it could be before your 30th birthday. Like, some people, like, barely get to experience life before it's taken from them. So the moments that I have been able to have, like, I'll treasure them, and it's just making the most of each day and, stopping and smelling the roses. Post-polio sucks, but I'm going to keep on traveling. That's it. Hey, this is Jay from Jayonlife. Thanks for watching my video. If you've liked what you've seen, and even if you don't like it, make sure to click subscribe. You can find me on different social media under Jayonlife. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google+. Be sure to check out more of my stories on my blog, www.jayonlife.com, and I hope to see you soon.